Afterward, about the author. The Swiss Family Robinson has two authors, both of them named Johann Weiss. Johann David Weiss was a minister who lived in Switzerland from 1743 to 1818. He and his wife had 4 sons. When the boys were young, Johann David Weiss created a story to entertain and educate his children. The story was about a Swiss family, mother, father, and 4 sons, shipwrecked on an uninhabited island. At first, Johann David just told the story orally, making it up as he went along. Eventually, he wrote it down, and when he was done, he had more than 800 handwritten pages. The second author of the Swiss Family Robinson is Johann Rudolf Weiss. Johann Rudolf was one of Johann David's 4 sons. He lived from 1781 to 1830. Along with his 3 brothers, he grew up listening to the story his father made up. After going to college in Germany, he returned to his hometown in Bern, Switzerland, where he became a professor of philosophy. He was interested in Swiss history and folklore. He wrote several articles and books on these topics, and he also wrote the words to the Swiss national anthem. In 1813, at the age of 33, he got permission from his father to edit and publish the 800-page manuscript. The version that he first published was quite different from the version we know today. It ends after the family had been on the island for only 2 years. And it ends with the father wondering if they will ever see other human beings again. In later editions, the story was revised to include the character of Jenny Montrose and the arrival of the English ship. Some of the changes were added by Johann Rudolf and some by people who translated the book from German into French and English. Even though the Swiss Family Robinson has gone through many changes since Johann David Weiss first told the story to his boys, it remains a good and true story. It has continued to entertain and instruct readers of all ages for nearly 200 years. About the book. At the end of the Swiss Family Robinson hands his journal over to his son Fritz in hopes that Fritz will publish it when he gets to England. Robinson says, "It was written to entertain and teach my children. It may well be useful to other young people. It would make me very happy to know that our example has helped other families to see what blessings can come of those who are resourceful, who persevere, and who are kind." The statement explains what has kept the book popular for almost 2 centuries. It entertains, but it also teaches. There are 4 ways in particular that the Swiss Family Robinson entertains us. One is by including amusing moments, Nips riding on the back of Turk, little Franz as the great bull tamer, Milo of Crotonia, Robinson flapping his arms among the geese to create a musical accompaniment for the opening of the holiday games, Impulsive Jack being chased by a land crab. One does not have to read very many pages to find an amusing moment in the family's life. A second way the book engages us is through moments of tension and danger. In the very first chapter, the family is trapped on a wrecked ship in the midst of a raging storm. Later in the book, Robinson and Jack are nearly trampled by a herd of stampeding buffalo. Still later, the family is threatened by a huge boa constrictor. Not long after that, Ernst has a narrow escape from 2 angry bears. Besides all this specific instances of tension and danger, there is a constant undercurrent of potential danger. This is created by the fact that they are shipwrecked in an uncharted world. They never know when some threatening creature, or maybe even some threatening human, may appear. Another way the book gives us pleasure is by creating moments of mystery and uncertainty. What lies beyond the rocky hills and cliffs? Who wrote the strange message for Fritz that Fritz discovers tied to the albatross's leg? Who had fired the 3 cannon shots that answer the family's own cannon shots? These and other mysteries keep us wondering and keep us reading to find the answers. The final way the book entertains us is by showing us imaginative solutions to problems the family faces. How to get from the dangerous shipwreck to the safety of the island. Build a boat from barrels cut in 2. How to get the farm animals ashore. Make life preservers for them. How to get the pinnace out of the hold of the shipwreck. Blow a hole in the side of the ship. Each time the family seems faced with a problem that is impossible to solve, they come up with an imaginative solution. In addition to providing an enjoyable story, the Swiss Family Robinson presents lessons about aspects of life. The first of these 3 lessons is simply the information it teaches about the natural world. Almost every chapter introduces us to animals, birds, sea creatures, insects, and plants from every part of the world. In some cases, we are even told how to cook these and what they taste like. The bear's paw, cooked in a stew, were delicious, despite their resemblance to giant human hands. In addition, Robinson tells us the basic principles of all kinds of practical and academic topics, from building a birch bark canoe to using mathematics to determine the height of the tree, from catching and training an onager to using the physics of levers to lift heavy objects. The book is packed with information. The book's second lesson is in its celebration of 3 qualities that people must have in order for a community to function well: resourcefulness, perseverance, and kindness. To be resourceful means to be able to act effectively and imaginatively in any situation. We see repeatedly how Robinson and his family are resourceful as they make use of their knowledge and the objects around them to create whatever they need. Robinson figures out how to build a boat out of barrels. Elizabeth figures out how to make waterproof suits to protect her husband and sons from the rain. Fritz comes up with an idea for creating life vests to float the farm animals ashore. Ernst invents a woven basket to use for catching fish. Jack makes porcupine skin armor to protect Turk. Franz figures out how to tame Grumble the bull. Almost everything the family does demonstrates the advantage of being resourceful. To persevere means to persist, to hold firm to a task or a course of action. Every single project that the Robinson family takes on, they see through to completion. When they are building the pinnace, they face huge obstacles: lack of space, lack of experience, lack of means for getting the boat out of the hold of a wrecked ship. But they keep at it until they have a wonderful and useful boat. When first attempting to chisel a shelter out of the rock cliff at Tentholm, their progress is agonizingly slow, but they kept at it until they have a safe, dry home for the rainy season. They are constantly building, improving, and inventing. They never become discouraged or overwhelmed in their efforts to make New Switzerland as comfortable and safe as Old Switzerland. They never waver in their faith. They teach us what perseverance is by the way they live. Kindness is the third quality the book teaches. Robinson constantly reminds his children to be kind to one another. Early in the first chapter, Fritz speaks sharply to Franz. Robinson immediately tells Fritz to speak more kindly. "Well said, Fritz. Had you said it kindly, you often speak more harshly to your brothers than you truly feel. Let your words reflect what is in your heart." Robinson does not scold Fritz. Instead, he compliments his son. "Well done, Fritz," and gently suggests how to speak more kindly. Let your words reflect what is in your heart. This example is typical of the way he teaches his sons to be kind, to tell them, and he shows them. As a result, they learn kindness by experiencing it. The final lesson in Swiss Family Robinson is the need to increase our understanding of others. Robinson learns this lesson by discovering how to better understand Elizabeth. From the start, Robinson respects and admires his wife. In the first chapter, he says he is inspired by her bravery, but in chapter 4, we learn that he also worries about her when he must leave her alone. The first time he returns to the wreck, he tells us, "I could not sleep worrying about my wife and children alone with 2 wounded dogs to protect them." The next morning, when we see the signal that they are safe, his reaction is, "What a weight that signal lifted from my heart." In spite of his respect and admiration and concern for Elizabeth, Robinson has no understanding of how his wife feels. Every time he goes back to the wrecked ship, Elizabeth expresses her concern. In chapter 5, she tells him, "I would rather lose the rest of the cargo than sit here and worry myself sick, as I do every time you even mention going to sea." Robinson hears her words, but he does not understand what she feels. In chapter 5, she states the problem exactly. "Must you really go again to that dreadful wreck? Have you no idea how nervous those trips make me?" He really does have no idea how she feels. Finally, in Chapter 9, when Robinson announces the last trip to the wreck, he begins to understand how strongly Elizabeth feels. As we caught the outbound current, I thought to myself that I'd been very slow to realize how much she hated our salvage trips. I resolved to be a more perceptive husband. At last, he realizes that he must become more sensitive to what his wife feels. Later in the book, he demonstrates that he really has become a more perceptive husband. In Chapter 17, a sudden violent storm comes up while Robinson, Ernst, and Jack are in the pinnace and Fritz is in the kayak. Robinson says, "I could only imagine how my wife and Franz felt alone on shore in the storm with no news of the rest of the family. Now he is able to imagine how upset she is. This is the most important lesson taught by the book, the need to increase our understanding of others." In sum, Johann David Weiss and David Rudolph Weiss succeed in entertaining us greatly with their story. They also succeed in teaching us important lessons in how to live successfully in a community and how to grow as human beings, lessons as valuable today as they were 2 centuries ago.